Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. Thanks so much for watch our video. So here we are from group 4. Would like to explain about language and gender. Before we jumping in our topic today, I would like to introduce ourselves. So the first is Aulia Amalia Jamal and Muhammad Zura Yufri and Ahmad Riwaldi Yahdian Shamshu and Novianti, Shasha Diarani Yahma Patisa Husiwa, and the last is Muhammad Diawul Haq. So our group would like to deliver about the content. So the first one is sex and gender, and the second one is man-made language, and the third is learning talk like a lady, and the fourth is gossiping, and the fifth one is language reform misguides attempt to change her history. So let's begin from language and gender. So language and gender. Much of language is ambiguous and depends on context. For its interpretation, a factor far more important than gender. There are few, if any, context-independent gender difference in language on closer examination. The same words can take on different meanings and significance depending on who use them in a particular context, like sweetie and honey. We cannot only propose to ban certain words like sweetie and honey from public communication because they can be construct as offensive in some contexts. Yeah. So jump in the next speaker.
Okay, so the first material is sex and gender, and my name is Syasadiarani Ahmad Sausiwa. So, while the distinction between sex and gender is well established in usage, it presupposes that we can distinguish between innate and environmental differences, far from the case at the present. Again, part of the problem is that even in biology, society views about women's cultural position dictate that men should be regarded as genetically superior to women. Much of early research on female or male differences was undertaken to validate this assumption. Women tend to lose much from such research because it tried to scientifically prove that certain characteristics, such as a societal division of labor that confined women to their roles as housewives, were natural, like biologically based, inevitable, and beyond questioning. Significant differences between male and female pitch do not appear to emerge until puberty, but it has also been shown that the voices of adult deaf males who have never heard speech do not break at puberty. All these things indicate that pitch is at least partly a matter of cultural convention. And the next material will be explained by the next speaker.
Okay, thank you. My name is Ahmad Riwaldi Adian Shamsu. I'm the third speaker of group, and I will bring sub chapter man main language. Okay, next. Sexism in language can be demonstrated with many different kinds of evidence. Words for women have negative connotations even where the corresponding male terms designate the same state or condition for men. Men are more likely to be referred to with positive adjectives such as honest and intelligent, while only women are described as silly and historical. Negative terms such as frigid, neurotic, loose relating to sexuality occur predominantly with the female terms, as do terms such as blonde and ugly describing appearance. Because the word woman doesn't share equal status with men, terms referring to women have undergone pejoration. If we examine pairs of gender mark, terms such as Lord and Lady, Sir, Madam, King, Queen, we can see how the female terms may start out on an equal footing, but they become devalued over time. Some of the more common derogatory terms applied to men, such as bastard and son of bitch, actually degrade women in their role as mothers, because it is men who make the dictionaries and divine meanings. They persistently reserve the positive semantic space for themselves and relegate women to a negative one. All the terms share the feature of animacy, which distinguish them from inanimate objects such as tables and chairs. And the words boy and girl are distinguished from man and woman in terms of sex as well as age. It is not hard to see why women have been especially sensitive to gender differences in naming practice and forms of address, since these are particularly telling indicator of a person's social status. This system of marking the female is still used at all levels of society. Men are seen as the creative force. Fathers pass their names on to both male and female children, and when women marry, they have traditionally taken the names of their husbands, abandoning their maiden names. It can be said only men have a right to the permanency of their names. That's all from me. The next subchapter will be bring my group mates. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the chance. My name is Aulia Malia as the fourth speaker, and I will explain about learning to talk like a lady. We are all familiar with the stereotype that women gossip and chatter while men talk shop, but actual research wide range of contexts. Example, in husband-wife interactions, TV discussions, and meetings. One showed that women did not in fact talk more about topics which were independently read as trivial by both men and women. Actually, nearly half of all the discussions undertaken by all male, all female, and mixed-sex groups were on topics that had been independently judged as trivial. Although much less attention has been paid to girls' networks than those of boys, there are observable differences in the way in which language is used in boys versus girls' play. Girls use language to create and maintain cohesiveness, and their activities are generally cooperative and non-competitive. Boys, on the other hand, tend to have more hierarchically organized groups than girls, and status and hierarchy is paramount. Thank you. The next material will be explained by the next speaker.
Okay, my name is Novianti and I will explain the material Gossip v Shop Talk. There are common elements in the speech styles of boys and men, such as storytelling, verbal posturing, and arguing. Men tend to challenge one another. Women, on the other hand, do not value aggressiveness and their conversation tend to be more interactional and aim at seeking cooperation. There are also differences in how conversations are managed. Women are careful to respect each other's turns and tend to apologize for talking too much. They dislike anyone dominating the conversation. Men compete for dominance with some men talking a lot more than others. They do not feel a need to link their own contribution to others. Instead, they are more likely to ignore what has been said before and to stress their own point of view. In mixed sex conversation, men interrupt women more, with the result that women are less able to complete their turns at talk and tend to talk less. Not surprisingly, this means that men can dominate the topics of conversation. In fact, we can even go so far as to say that for men, of conversation is to be the speaker. Women value listening much more. Will be explained by the next.
Language reform, a misguided attempt to the option of using their misses. Many arguments have been put forward against some of the changes proposed by feminists. For example, some object to miss because of its pronunciation cannot be determined from the spelling. But then this is true for Mrs. and Mr. too, and for a great many other English words. Concerning to this matter, of course, I have 2 points that I'd like to point out and explain. The first one is that there have been some attempts to eliminate sexist language, especially in written documents. For example, the USA Department of Labor and other government bureaucracies have made some attempts to do so. Thus, steward and stewardess are out and the flight attendant is in. The Australian government even has a linguist who acts as an advisor on sexism in its publications. Second point is that studies have shown that some of the new neutral terms are used in such way as to perpetuate the inequalities expressed by the old sex-marked terms they are supposed to replace. Despite this, however, women who work in professional positions often have difficulty competing on an equal basis. They are at a disadvantage if they do not adapt some features of the male interactional style. But when they do, however, they are seen as less feminine and criticized by both men and women. That is all for the presentation for everyone's part from Group 4. Hopefully, we can all learn a few things related to language and gender. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.